Wilson Blade 98 16 by 19 version 10. Immediately when I tried the racket, I noticed it is a very contra-oriented racket, a bit low powered for a very advanced, technically developed players. I used to play with the V5 Blade 1820. Back then I was young and hungry. Now I am young and hairy. But yeah, when I first tried the V5 1820, I immediately noticed the pocketing sensation, the comfort, how long the ball stays on the strings, yet with so much plow through I was still getting power and penetration. I immediately noticed that this frame is special. Coming from the Pure Drive Rodix and Head Speed Pro Graphene first edition, so relatively stiffer frames. Even Speed Pro back then was like 66, so quite responsive. Coming to Blade, totally different world. I was shocked like how much rackets can play differently to each other. Going from Pure Drive to Speed Pro, I didn't notice as much difference. Of course, there were some differences in response, but feel-wise, not so much. But Blade, totally different world. And now V6 was a countervail, a bit stiffer, a more immediate response, closer to the Speed Pro and Pure Drive I had before. V7 was closer to the V5, more of this sensation, pocketing sensation, more comfort. Then V8, V9, V10, less special in terms of feel. I tried V9, I didn't do the review of these frames. I was just speeding with my racket search and I knew it is not for me, so I just skipped it. V10, I am quite close to the release date, so I figured many of you might be interested in my opinion. So if we put Blade on the map of rackets, we can see Prestige, we can see Percept 97D, we can see TF40, we can see Whiteout and Radical MP. Out of all these rackets, Blade probably has the biggest, strongest marketing, but Wilson pumps a lot of money to stay on top. So it's a challenge because now players are looking for something more, a bit more response, a bit more spin, or a bit more forgiveness. So all the rackets actually struggle near the Blade. Prestige struggles, had decided to stop the update. We don't know when we will see the next Prestige, even though it is a great racket, but people just don't buy it anymore. Between V9 and V10, I didn't notice that much difference. Yeah, we were informed that supposedly Blade has a thicker beam. Didn't notice the bump in swing wave, which should happen if you increase thickness on the top. The mass should follow, but the swing wave was relatively close to the V9. So yeah, we have a thicker beam, but still the mass is not there. The blade is faster than the V5. So Wilson took away some mass from the upper portion of the racket to make the frame more accessible to a larger group of players, because Blade is probably Wilson's now most popular racket. So many people can mistakenly buy a racket by just enjoying the looks of it, or maybe following their favorite players. Blade paint jobs is all over the ATP and WTA tour, so a lot of players can buy the racket without prior testing, and that can be an issue. So previously Blade was a very specialized racket, and now it is more all around, but with less mass, with less power, with less penetration, a little bit gray, I want to say. That's why I see it as a very advanced racket for technically developed players, because it is the player's job to unlock the power, unlock the spin. So it doesn't have any special trait other than being open to the player that is wielding the racket. But I think even in its world of contour-oriented rackets, many have some special traits, like Prestige, to me, has a better feel, a bit more pocketing sensation, and I'm thinking about Prestige Pro, Prestige Tour, Prestige MP and Prestige MPL. Every racket here has some special trait, most likely in feel, but you definitely notice something special, some identity. PRZ97D, it offers more power. It is stiffer in feel, but offers power. Chord penetration, a bit more traditional in wave distribution. There might be a player looking specifically for that thing. TF40, foam field, more comfort, more of this maybe feel associated with the V5 because it is a head heavier setup with a bit higher swing wave, so it shares some traits from the X blades. Basically TF40 is an alternative version of the blades from the past. Whiteout 1619 offers more spin. Blade, yeah, I would have to be a very good spin-oriented player to get the spin out of the blade. Otherwise, it is less jumpy. So you have to be a master in something to get some of it in blades. That's the trickiest part of using a blade. It is for advanced players, but advanced players already know something about their game, what they need, what they are good at, what are their weaknesses. So they try to manage weaknesses and maybe use their better shots to build the game. If you're a spinny guy, probably you will enjoy the V-core line or Pure Aero line. If you are a contour-oriented guy, maybe you need a bit more feel. Maybe your swing path is longer, so you need more mass. So Prestige Pro might be a good solution. If you just want to destroy the ball, then obviously E-zone or Pure drives. So Blade leaves me kinda empty. How I want to play with the racket, what are my weapons with the racket. And the biggest issue I notice is the drop off in power if I don't hit it clean. So playing defensively with the blade is not as easy. Playing aggressively with the blade is also not so easy because it is not giving me any weapons on its own. I strung the frame at 21 kilos with Solinco Mach 10, so relatively power-oriented string or responsive string, definitely not a dead string. Yet I noticed a drop-off in power. I was hoping to wake up the blade, but the sweet spot maybe was too small to make an advantage of the Solinco Mach 10 because the sweet spot was hotter than the rest of the string bed. I think Prestige Pro is a bit more forgiving, TF40 is a bit more forgiving, Whiteout definitely more forgiving, Radical MP, yeah, now we are getting closer, but still I think with the Radical MP the power potential is a bit bigger. Maybe the biggest advantage of the blade is to see it as a platform frame, like I can put some mass at the top to bring up the swing wave. So if we are discussing potential customizing, I would put some mass at the top and maybe top of the handle. Keep the balance relatively similar, just play with the static wave or swing wave or both. Increase the swing wave, increase the static wave, keep the balance relatively similar. I wouldn't make it too headlight because blades don't like it. Blades, as a design, as a construction, they like some of its natural plow through from head heaviness or higher swing wave, so keep it in mind. So is it a special frame? Definitely. Very contour-oriented. You really have to stay locked with your technique, with your footwork. The frame itself is slightly unforgiving, but very stable. I wouldn't call it an unstable frame. It is just not as user-friendly as the current offering on the market. Yeah, the industry is going hot now. Very responsive frames, but with a lot of control actually. I really enjoyed most of the rackets I play tested this year and the year before. Rackets are getting better and better, so they kinda leave the old school frames behind. I haven't play tested the Blade v10 1820, but based on my experience now with the 1619, I think I would go with the 1820 version if you are deciding which one to buy. At least you are getting a bit of this special trait. The frame is less forgiving, less spin oriented, but you are getting more control. You're getting more plow through from more strings in the racket. So I think the overall sensation of playing with the frame will be more complete or more special. 1619, it should be easier to use, it should be more user-friendly, it should offer you better power, better spin potential, better forgiveness, but it's not. At least compared to the other rackets in the same category, which we would call control-oriented rackets. Blade 1820, I guess with its slightly higher swing wave and maybe more linear response, I think you will have more fun with it. Or if you enjoy customizing rackets, yeah, you can improve the blade with some mass, but you will end up with a slightly heavy frame. So again, compared to other rackets, maybe it is just easier to buy a Radical MP or Whiteout, depending how you want to play. Whiteout, higher launch angle but better spin potential. Radical MP, slightly more power, easier power. If you want to go hotter, and that's where the money is currently in tennis, E-Zone, more power, V-Core, more spin. I actually think that the Pro Staff 97 was giving me more power than the Blade. I had more fun with the Pro Staff. Blade, in stock form, a bit, yeah, empty. That's it for this review. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Friendly reminder, you can still win a brand new Technifiber Fire Racket if you find this review. Leave a comment there. Make sure to subscribe. I want to cross 2000 subscribers. Please help me get there. See you soon. Bye bye.